And welcome to UFC Addicts episode number 18. You know what time it is. This is Aaron, and I'm here as always with my co-host Leyton. What up, buddy?
What up? Okay, so before I get into a quick rant on the Brazil card, we will be doing another giveaway this episode and every single other episode. Just a quick reminder there. So yeah, Brazil card. I'm going to go into a quick rant.
Yeah. Before your rant, the streak is over, as most of our hardcore fans know, and softcore fans for that matter. In the streak of my main events, wrong, I believe it was up to 11 straight main event picks I had wrong. The Magic Man lived up to his nickname. So personal shout out to Marlon Moraes for making me finally get a main event. I also got the co-main event, so if people wanted to argue and say that, oh, well, Aldo should have been the main event, well, I got the co-main event correct as well. More looking at, before you get into your rant, I'm going to go into a glant, I'll say, made up a word.
Yes.
But I think everybody knows what it means, so shout out to Moraes. The submission finish was absolutely shocking. I don't think anybody, and pretty much the part that I was most impressed with, I think we kind of agree. We were talking a little bit about this just before we started, but the two right hands, obviously, power is, everybody loves it, but to be able to submit a guy like Rafael Sunsao is, that's just no joke. That really impresses me. I really want to see him and TJ next. I don't give a shit about TJ and Henry. I don't. I'm sorry, Henry won. There's no need for a rematch. He put him out very quickly. We don't need to see it again. So, in my opinion, Moraes absolutely earned a title shot.
Yeah, completely agree with you. Okay, so the quick run.
So I'm gonna give you. Yeah, you have up to 5 minutes.
Okay.
So I have it. But I'm sorry, I just need to get my stopwatch out here. But I'm going to legit give you 5 minutes here, so you can go ahead and start, and I, will not be responding. So go ahead and
my first problem is the first fight. Bibliatov lost a split decision. I think we can all agree, heading into the third round, it was definitely 1-1, right? Bibliatov obviously lost the first round. He clearly won the second round. So now we're down to 5 minutes of who wants it more. I don't recall anything in those 5 minutes that told me Bontorin won that third round. Obviously the guy had moments. I saw far many more moments from Bibliatov. One thing I do recall is the last minute of that round. It wasn't even like the last minute. It was like the last 40 seconds. Bontorin reversed a takedown from Bibliatov and took Bibliatov down. Didn't end up on top. He actually ended up on his back pressed against the cage. So I'm not sure where they've, come to the conclusion Bontorin's won that. If anyone can tell me how Bontorin won that, I'd love to know. Obviously, if you want to tell me, oh, he got the takedown and all this, we've seen loads of guys get a takedown in the last 50 seconds and not win. So I'd love to know how Bibliatov won that, lost that. Junior Albini, what can we really say there? Nearly ripped the guy's arm off a couple times. Clearly has the guy tired on the feet. The guy's been working on the floor, defending a Kimura. Defending positions, having to get out of mount. The guy is pretty tired from having to go through this kind of energy that he doesn't normally go through. Somehow we see Junior Albini somehow clipped, like 4 or 5 times. And as far as I'm concerned, Junior Albini is the fat version of Justin Scoggins. Just the guy can't win. What else do we have? Max Griffin, another one that I wasn't happy with. So I think we can all agree again. The first round clearly went to Max. The second round clearly went to Thiago Alves. So we're at another point where 5 minutes of the third round, who wants it more, right? Okay, so within the first 15 seconds, not even that, within the first 7 seconds, Thiago Alves clips Max Griffin a couple times. But what was the majority of that round? The majority was Max Griffin grappling, Max Griffin takedown, Max Griffin holding position on the floor. Max Griffin clearly controlled the majority of that round in a grappling sense. Now, just like the first fight, the only way I see Bontorin having won that third round was with the last minute takedown. Now, we saw 3 minutes at least of Max Griffin controlling Thiago Alves. So how come it doesn't count now? Well, you know, Max Griffin's not Brazilian. Thiago Alves is, and we're in Brazil. So once again, I feel like there was home cooking there. Barella, the Italian girl, very dominant performance against Santos. I'm pretty sure it was a 30-27. If not, it was definitely a 29-28. But somehow, yet again, we find ourselves with a split. Somehow, a judge has Santos winning 29-28. I'm pretty sure we all witnessed Barella win the first 2 rounds. There's no argument. There's no argument who won the first 2 rounds. You know, but once again, we find ourselves with a split decision. So yeah, Brazil, there you go. What else is there to mention?
We got 1 minute left if you want to use it.
Okay,
1 minute. 1 minute warning.
We're going to quickly go through 2 more. Livia Souza, how was she still able to fight a 10-pound woman who's 10 pounds over on the night? You know, like, that would happen nowhere else. You know, we see people miss by
10 pounds at straw weight is pretty significant. That's 10%. That's nearly 10% of the weight.
It was ridiculous, you know. So how is that allowed? I'll tell you why that's allowed, because Brazil is a thing. And my last one, I know we disagree on this one, is David Tamer with the eye poke. I don't know how the guy was, you know, had a point taken off him within 40 seconds, not even warned. I know me and you disagree on that. And I know a lot of people listening are going to disagree on one of my several points, but that's okay. You're
all right. Well, ding, ding, ding. I'm gonna call it there. Stepping a little early.
I feel better.
Yeah. That was good. I wish we could have gotten that rant right after the fight, to be honest with you.
It would have been much worse.
I mean, but at the same point, we may have some people listening who have some sensitive ears, so maybe it's good. I agree with just about most of that. The eye poke, I can definitely disagree with you on. I think that the fact that he didn't instantly take a point away was actually a good thing in this case, allowing maybe potentially to get a little information from the doctor when the doctor let him know both eyes were injured or both eyes were affected, meaning it was a double eye poke. I think that's what led him to take the point away. And so I'm not sure if that part was home cooking. I mean, Dubronx is Brazilian, of course, and then Dubronx had a toe poke, which I think leads to when is that going to be a potential penalty? But that is opening up a whole bunch of things. That's like calling a penalty every time a strike on the feet hits you in the back of the head. Plenty of head kicks hit you in the back of the head. Plenty of strikes do. So are you going to start calling that back of the head? There's a certain point where it's just this is combat sport and there's danger in any strike. So, yeah, crazy card. I ended up 6-13. So I did pick up a few on you with winning getting the co and main event right. So I think I'm within single digits now of you, probably down 9 or 10 now, but still got a long way to go. And we are here to break down the card from Australia, UFC 234. So I am ready to hop into this card here. What about you?
Yep, I'm very happy Brazil's out of the way. I can say that. Moving to Australia now. And the first fight on this card is Wiligi Buren versus Jonathan Martinez. And this is at 135. I'll be breaking down Buren. Okay, so he comes into this fight 0-2 inside the UFC. His losses came to Rolando D, which is, you know, pretty embarrassing. And for some reason, after that loss, he was then handed Marlon Vera, which makes no sense.
Cheeto Vera.
Yeah, no reason why he was given a step up in competition after losing to Rolando D. And that's not even like a slight step up. That's like a big step in competition.
It's called a showcase fight. I don't know if you've heard the term before, Leyton, but he was the showcase.
Yeah, I don't know why, though. You know, that's unfair. But yeah, 0-2. He actually was 1 round up against Marlon Vera. The first round, he definitely won that first round. And he looked fairly decent. The grappling was pretty okay. The striking was, fairly decent. But the second round came, and as the second round was ending, there was a huge difference in conditioning. Marlon Vera started to rip to the body, and that's how Buren lost that fight. So, what can you really say here? In my opinion, this is like a 50-50. If Buren looks more conditioned, probably a decision win for him. But yeah, I'm going to stick with Wiliji Buren to get his first UFC win here. So I'll take him via decision.
Okay. So you think he's just going to kind of ground him?
Yeah, I'm going to assume Jonathan Martinez doesn't exploit him the way Marlon Vera did.
Fair enough. I will be breaking down Mr. Jonathan Martinez, 24-year-old out of California, 9-2 overall with 5 TKOs and 2 subs in those 9 wins. He did come into UFC on short notice to take on Soccer Mom, and he lost a pretty close decision, but he just basically didn't look like he had what it took to beat Soccer Mom. He was knocked down twice in the fight too. So Soccer Mom definitely landed some good jabs, whatnot. Martinez tried to get in a few times and did with some elbows and other strikes, but on it, and he was the fresher fighter too. So energy wise, cardio wise, he looked good, but it was just the game plan. He didn't have the match. So we'll see here. I think he is up against a much more appropriate opponent in Buren, and Buren, not exactly the most impressive so far. He kind of just looks like he kind of will go for a takedown, but seems to absorb quite a few strikes standing up. So, and I think Martinez has shown he can be pretty active and effective on the feet. So I think it's all about where the fight takes place. And I think that Martinez has the footwork and just needs to be smart about when he pressures Buren. And if he is, I think he can end up getting a finish in the second round. So I'm going to have Martinez. So we are going to disagree here. Nice. One thing I like about Buren, and one thing you should know about me, is I like Dana White's Contenders series, and I like Tiger Muay Thai camp. So there's a lot of guys on this camp from Tiger Muay Thai. Buren is from Tiger Muay Thai. So that is something that makes me hesitant against picking against him here. But because he's making much less of a trip to Australia here from Martinez. But I just have a feeling Martinez is really going to come in with a little more urgency and be more comfortable against this opponent. And I think it's going to lead to Buren getting cut. So we're going to disagree, and I'll take Jonathan Martinez over Wiliji Buren. And we go to the odds here, and Martinez is the favorite, minus 200. So pretty decent favorite.
Yeah.
So there you go. You got your
minus 2.
Yeah, minus 2. So we got your magic plus 160, the down Cerrone.
Yeah, that is a magical price, to be fair. Yeah, I'm a little surprised there. Minus 2, that's a little too much, but like you said, Buren fairly average. Yeah. So
yeah, Buren's been average, and yes, Buren won the first round against Cheeto, who came back and pretty decisively ended up winning that fight. But the thing about Martinez against Soccer Mom was he was a fresher fighter. He just didn't quite have enough. And Soccer Mom, for all we want to say about the IQ and everything, I think it's been a little blown out of proportion. I really do. I think when you're in the fight, I think watching the fight with multiple camera angles and everything else, a little bit easier than being in the fight. But I think Soccer Mom is a pretty damn good bantamweight. And Martinez really looked like he belonged in there. He just wasn't quite there yet. And in his all fairness, if he was making a normal debut, they wouldn't be matching him up against Soccer Mom. They'd be matching him up against Buren. I look at this as his real debut, but he has the advantage of going 15 minutes in a high-profile fight. Now he's starting on the first fight of the night, and yeah, I feel pretty good. So I understand the odds. And so let's move forward here to I think a banger of a second fight here, and I'm pretty excited to see this one. Callan Potter, who's making his UFC debut, versus Jalen the Tarantula Turner. I will be breaking down the Australian, Callan the Rockstar Potter. He is 17-7 overall. 6 of his wins coming by TKO, 10 of his wins coming by submission. So, quick math for you, that is 1 decision in his 17 wins. And in his 7 losses, he has 3 TKO losses and 4 submission losses. So, quick math there. He's had 1 fight in 24 fights go to a decision.
Wow.
So, this guy is either finishing or being finished. And I've been able to watch a few of his fights. He's a pretty wild guy in there for the most part, and I don't recognize a lot of the guys he's fought. So, be that as it will. And I think someone's being put out some way in this fight, and it's probably happening in the first round. And that's for the most part where Potter's fights have been ended when he's been finished, and that is typically where Turner ends a fight or gets finished. And one thing that's interesting is Potter is coming off that first decision. So he's coming into this fight with his first decision win, and it got him a UFC contract, maybe because they're fighting in Australia and they want some local talent, though. And I don't think against Turner he's going to be looking to mix it up, however. I think that he's going to be looking to take him down and grapple him. I don't think he's going to be trying to strike with Turner, even though Turner's coming off a pretty brutal KO to Vicente Luque. I just think that, the range and the power of Turner is something that needs to be taken seriously. So I can guarantee this fight doesn't go the full 15. And he is fighting, and Turner's going to be fighting at 150. This fight's at 155. So Turner's last fight was at 170 on short notice. And so I think that Turner's done this weight cut a lot, and I'm going to take Turner to rebound from that brutal KO finish. And I think it could be a back and forth brawl potentially in the first round, but I think it's ended in the first, and I'll take Turner to get the finish. Nice.
That breakdown, in my eyes, was beautiful. Like, it was that good, I feel like I don't even need to say anything.
Thank you.
But I'm gonna basically relay a couple things that you've just said. Jalen Turner, 0-1 in the UFC. His debut was against Vicente Luque, like you said. It was at 170, It's hard to believe Jalen Turner actually makes 155. He's like the black version of James Vick. Like, it's kind of freaky that he makes 155. But apparently, that's his weight class. So, yeah, he's at 155 here. I don't know too much about Potter. So I'm glad you brought some decent facts there. And I do know he wins majority of his fights by submission. But I did not know that pretty much every single one of his fights, there's a finish. So yeah, stylistically for Turner, he's back at 155. I do know Potter's like 34, 35 years old. So I feel Jalen Turner's going to have the speed advantage. But yeah, your breakdown was pretty spot on. And we are going to agree on this one. I'm going to take Jalen Turner to get a TKO finish in round number 2. I think we're going to see a war in round 1 and a finish in the second.
Okay. The odds definitely agree with us on this one. Jalen coming at minus 275.
Okay.
So I don't think Potter's fought, looking at Potter's match record, I don't think Potter's fought anybody like Turner. And looking at Turner's fought in Bellator before this, Vicente Luque. I don't know how valuable it is to get your head bounced off the canvas like that from a KO punch. Brutal.
Yeah, that was something I meant to mention. That knockout, there's getting TKO'd, and then there's having that done to you. Like, it was pretty.
Yeah, and it wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was a while ago, but I mean, that is the type of KO that can affect you for a year plus. So
yeah, that's like the worst case scenario for like a short notice fight. Like, you're that brutally knocked out from a short notice fight. And
I remember thinking about that fight before. I'm not sure if we broke that one down or not.
Yep, we did.
I think I had Luque by submission. Like, I assumed he was going to go in there and use his jiu-jitsu, and he just clobbered him. Anyways, that's the thing to really watch for. And that keeps me from being super confident in the Turner pick is that I don't know how his chin is after that fight, how his head is, how his confidence is, everything like that. And I think Australia in general, they get there for all the fights on like American cards where they show up for the co-main event only, which I don't understand.
Yeah, me
but it's just crazy to me. But I think there's going to be plenty of fans there in support of Potter early. So and so we'll see. I mean, Turner's lost what, 4 or 5 fights now?
Yep, about that.
Yeah, he's been beat. So and
it's going to be a banger. I can't wait.
Yeah,
I'm just happy it's not Brazil. I'm glad it's Australia.
We're far from Brazil. And moving on to the next fight, we do have a Brazilian in here, and Marcos Mariano facing against Lando Vannata, and that is what's called a segue in the biz. I will be breaking down Marcos Dalcim Rosa Mariano. That is his full name according to a particular site that I'm no longer going to name. And he is 32 years old. He is 6'1". This fight's being at 155. And he's 6-4 overall with 2 TKOs and a submission. So, and I had an impossible time finding tape on this guy. I found one fight in which he lost. So, and in that fight, he lost after hitting some decent strikes early, but overall his stand-up didn't look that crazy to me. He threw out some pretty slow jabs. He's a longer fighter. He kind of looks like Anderson Silva at 155, to be honest. And threw some good body kicks, but they were kind of slow. I think against a better guy would have gotten caught and led to a takedown. And once he was taken down, he laid flat on his back with both feet up and just like nothing, doing nothing until he got tapped by a smaller guy that he was fighting. So he seems like a counter puncher, and I think that he'll be the taller fighter, but I think as long as Lando takes a measured approach, I think Lando may even take him down, but Lando knows he needs a win here. And I don't think he's going to be throwing a bunch of spinning shit and looking to keep this on the feet. I think Lando's actually going to look to take this down because of how bad Mariano is on the ground. So I'll take Lando by a pretty lackluster decision. I don't know why Mariano's in the UFC. This is confusing to me from what I've been able to see. The record, just overall, I'm not quite seeing it.
Fair play. Okay, so Lando Vannata comes into this fight 1 win, 3 losses, and 2 draws. He's been in the UFC now for 2.5 years, nearly 3 years. So you could say with that record, he's underachieving. That's fair to say. But then you look at his fights, and there's one thing this guy is definitely not underachieving in, and that's entertainment. You watch this guy's fights, and every single fight, no matter who he's fighting, it's entertaining. And that's like a beautiful trait to have. You know, if you're the UFC, you love that trait from this guy. So, you know, it's evident the UFC wants this guy to win. You know, and I think, you know, in a fight like this, like, you really have to. You know, you could say with his 2 draws, he's been unlucky and he really should. You know, I believe he should have a better record than 1 win, 3 losses and 2 draws. But yeah, I disagree with you on the spinning shit. I think this guy's never going to change. I think he's always going to have that kind of stand-up. It works for him. You know, he's 1-3 with 2 draws, and now he's, in my opinion, and maybe your opinion too.
You think that's working for him? 1-3 with 2 draws is working for him?
For him, it's not. Like I think he's underachieving.
He may be 1 loss away from being in Bellator or something. And why I say that he's going to get rid of the spinning shit is just because I think he cares more about being in the UFC than being entertaining for at least this fight.
But the thing is, the spinning shit works. It works sometimes. It comes very close to working nearly all the time. So that's why I think this guy will never change, because he's entertaining, and the UFC love that he's entertaining. And the thing is, he can win. He can win that way. We saw him so close to putting Tony Ferguson's lights out, but then you just realize, like, and you know, Tony Ferguson survives all the time, no matter what. We saw it against Anthony Pettis. We saw it against Vannata. We've seen it time after time. Tony Ferguson's conditioning is just through the roof. But But yeah, Lando Vannata is an extremely entertaining fighter. If anyone's thinking of buying Fight Pass and you're like, thinking who should I go and watch, who should I spend, go and watch this guy. Go and watch those 6 fights in the UFC, because every single one of them is just, I really enjoy watching this guy. But I would say this is a showcase. I would say it's a showcase for what Lando Vannata is about. You could be right. He could become, much more, hesitant. But I think we're going to see exciting moments. And I think I always stick with Lando Vannata pretty much. And I'm going to stick again. I'm sure, the majority of listeners are sticking again, despite how he's underachieved. But yeah, I'm going to stick with him again. And I'm going to take a TKO finish in round number 1.
Okay. Fair enough. Lando is the minus 350 favorite. So I believe that's one of the larger favorites on the card. Plus 265 for Mariano. I'm basing it in part on the situation Lando's in, and in part on Mariano's lack of wrestling and jiu-jitsu from the bottom. He looks like once he's down there, he looked like James Toney on his back.
Wow.
That bad.
Well, yeah. I haven't seen the tape, but...
So it was like the only one I could find. It was in Portuguese, so I didn't have any announcing. I just had to watch it, but... Yeah.
A very interesting betting tip for anyone who can bet on a draw. just do it. Just put like $2 on it, because you don't know. Man. You don't know if Lando Vannata's been in 2 already and they don't happen often. It could just be a trait of his as well, that he gets so entertaining. There's somehow now a draw again. So William Hill doesn't offer it, but if you're with whoever and it offers a draw, do it.
I like it. That's It's a little insider tip there. You'll only find out. I guarantee there's no other podcast that will bring that up.
Yeah.
Guarantee that.
Just do it. I'm not gonna, I can't bet on it because William Hill doesn't let you, but just do it.
I'm putting it in right now.
Yeah.
It's done. It's done.
Right.
All right. Let's move on to the next fight at 135 between Teruto Ishihara and Ho Kang. I will be breaking down Mr. Perfect, Ho Kang. He is 31 years old. He is a 5'9", 135er, so decent size for the division. 14-8-1, no contest in his career with 2 TKOs and 10 submissions. He's 3-2-1 in the UFC. He has submissions over Guido Canetti and Mishiniro Tanaka, and he's coming off a split decision loss to Ricardo Ramos, who had that adrenaline dump against Said Nurmagomedov in the last fight. But definitely Ho Kang, he held his own in that fight. The thing with him is he's almost too patient in fights. And I think it's what caused him, and it's a recipe for a lot of split decision losses, split decisions in general, I think, fighting the way Ho Kang fights. But I think in this fight, that patience really plays a strong point into the matchup against Ishihara. Ishihara, I really have not been impressed with in quite a while. He really overcommits to his strikes, and I see it leading to him making a mistake and Ho Kang taking him down and eventually getting a sub or cruising to a decision. But I think this is Kang all day in this one, unless he's just really, really lackadaisical and doesn't have his head in there. But otherwise, I think he's going to kind of control Ishihara. Ishihara I've not been too impressed with. He seems like he's really let outside the octagon affect inside the octagon with regards to distractions. So I'll take Ho Kang, and I will say he gets a decision win.
Nice. Okay, so Ishihara comes into this fight 3-3 inside the UFC. He has a draw also. Not really any notable wins from Ishihara. And as weird as it sounds, like it kind of goes with your point as well. As weird as it sounds, I feel like Ishihara has looked better in fights he's lost than fights he's won. And that sounds really weird. But, for example, against Quinones, like, I saw him have, like, really nice moments in that fight. But then again, that could be, stylistically, Quinones is quite flashy. Ishihara definitely overcommits with his flashy side. But yeah, completely awful against Peter Yan. But Peter Yan was making his debut. He looked great, and he's looked great since. But yeah, I pretty much agree with you. Ishihara is pretty disappointing. And he only looks good, really, when, you know, he's in a fight he's lost, as weird as it sounds. Kang had one of the nicest submissions of 2018, in my opinion, and it was right at the start of 2018. It was against Canetti. If no one can remember that fight, go watch it, because in my opinion, Kang, like, arguably top 5 best submission of 2018. It was that nice. You know, in his last fight against Ricardo Ramos, you know, it was fairly close. But yeah, too patient. But yeah, I'm going to agree with you pretty much here. But I am going to take a Kang submission. I think Ishihara is going to be taken down. I think that's going to gas him quite a bit. And I'll take a round 2 submission for Kang.
Yeah, I was leaning towards the submission, to be honest, but I don't know. Ishihara trains out Alpha Male, correct?
I couldn't tell you.
I think he trains out Team Alpha Male, or has been for a little bit now, so I believe he has some good grappling partners at his size there, so that's really what I was giving respect to, is that camp. But I do have Kang as well, and he is actually the largest favorite on this card.
Okay.
At minus 450.
Yeah. It shouldn't be that high, but so far, I would say he should be the biggest favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, it opened at minus 300, which is more where I would have liked to see it. Yeah. But minus 450 is pretty substantial for a guy who is 1-1. Yeah, or no, 3-2-1. Sorry, 3-2-1. I mean, he's lost a couple times. So, but I can't say I disagree with the odds. Also, just a little wide there. But yeah, you want to move on and lead us into our next fight?
Yes. Okay. So we have this is at 125. K Kara France versus Rulian Paiva, I believe. Paiva, something like that. It's Brazilian, so you know I'm not getting on with Brazil right now. So yeah, he comes into this fight making his octagon debut. Previously fought on the Contender Series in Brazil. I didn't watch that. I did go back and watch that fight like yesterday, but I wasn't watching it live. He doesn't seem to be a grappler. He doesn't seem to want to take the fight to the mat. He seems to want to stand and strike. And that's pretty much what K Kara France wants to do. I remember breaking him down for his first fight against Elias Garcia. You have him this time. You know, I'm really behind K Kara France. From what I've seen from him, he just looks great. So with Paiva, you know, he's wanting to stand. I feel like the difference in this fight is going to be the pressure. I think K Kara France is going to be the one pressing the action, keeping Paiva on the outside. And if we watch in the Contender Series, Paiva was never on the outside, and he still got clipped a couple times. So to say he's going to catch K Kara France on the outside, you know, it could happen. But from what I've seen from K Kara France is, you know, nothing short of brilliant. One thing I would say that's like a negative, I believe K Kara France chose at one point or two times in his debut, he chose to go to the ground with Elias Garcia when he had him on the ground. You know, that's maybe like an IQ thing, but apart from that, you know, I haven't really got anything negative to say about the guy. I have only positives. So yeah, I'm pretty confident in taking K Kara France here. So I'll take a TKO in round number 1.
Okay, K Kara France, nicknamed Don't Blink. He is a 25-year-old fighting on Tiger Muay Thai. So camp I really like, as I said, 18-7 overall with 9 TKOs and 3 submissions. He's 1-0 with a pretty solid decision over Elias Garcia. Kai did look very good on his feet, as expected, and I'm really comfortable with taking him here against Paiva, however you say that guy's name. Yeah, I saw him in the Contender Series, and I saw a lot of potential holes in his stand-up where a guy like Kai is going to exploit it. And I'm expecting him to get the finish here. I think that having the 15 minutes in the octagon in his debut was huge, but I expect him to be a little more comfortable to let it loose here. And he does have a finish over Kai France. That is a finish over Iliarda Santos, who was in the UFC for a brief stint. He finished him in less than a minute. So he's got legit power, and I see this being a kickboxing clinic. I hope he doesn't look to use his grappling too much. I hope he really looks to keep this on the feet here. I'll take him to get the TKO in the second round.
Nice. And what are the odds saying for this?
This is another one where the odds, we have quite a few fights here that the odds aren't too close on. So minus 300 for Kai in this one.
Yeah, that's definitely sounding right to me.
Plus 230 for Paiva. So we'll see. Maybe surprises some folks.
Okay, so heading into the next one, we have Shane Young versus Austin Arnett, and this will be at 145. Okay, so Austin Arnett comes into this fight 1-2 inside the UFC. Previously fighting on the Contender Series, where he lost to Brandon Davis via decision. So his debut. I was at his debut in North Carolina. I'm pretty sure I've said that about 4 times now on this channel. Yeah, that was against Corey Sandhagen. The fight looked pretty competitive for about 2 minutes. And then Corey Sandhagen showed the whole world, hey, look, this is how I rip to the body. Do you like this? And Austin Arnett definitely did not like that. So, yep. Austin Arnett then went on to fight Humberto Bandini. No, before that he fought Hakeem. Hakeem, I'm not sure how to say his second name, but he's the Canadian guy.
The Wadu.
Yep, that's the one right there. That was pretty dominant. Once again, Hakeem, pretty much pieced up Austin Arnett for 15 minutes. And, Austin Arnett pretty much performed worse in that fight than he did his debut against Corey Sandhagen. And then he got the win over Humberto Bandini. And once again, Austin Arnett was hurt badly in the first round. He was looking certain to lose that fight after the first round. But, Humberto pretty much showed us he has a very bad gas tank. So, yeah, we're here now. We're into the fourth fight of Austin Arnett's career. On paper, it's a close one because, I don't really see much of an edge for Shane Young. He looked impressive in his last fight. Against Volkanovski, not so much. There's always one fight on every card where you're back and forth. And for me, that's never the main event, really, and it should be, or the co-main. It's always like fights in the middle or towards the main card. And yeah, this is the fight I'm having trouble with. Very back and forth. But I'm gonna make a prediction now, and I'm gonna stick with it. And if I'm wrong, I wasn't confident in either guy. So, but yeah, I'm gonna take Austin Arnett. I'm gonna take him via decision. Wow. I just think for his frame at 145, it's pretty decent. It's pretty decent. I just think he's gonna somehow have the heart here to get the nod over Shane Young. If Shane Young does get the nod and it's not 1-1 heading into the third, obviously I'm not gonna scream home cooking. I never do until I've watched the third as well. But yeah, Shane Young has a real possibility here. But from what I saw of Austin Arnett in the second and third against Humberto, I just thought this kid really does want to be here. And you saw that for 15 minutes when he got beat up by Hakeem. He never quit. So, this could be make or break pretty much for Austin Arnett. This could be, well, this is your level, and if he wins, it could be, well, you're getting into it now. But yeah, I'm very back and forth, but I'm gonna side with Austin Arnett to get a nod on the decision.
Okay, well, spoiler, we're going to be disagreeing on that one. Shane Young. I will be breaking down the New Zealand kickboxer, 5'8", out of, as I said, New Zealand, 12-4 with 6 TKOs and 4 submissions. So calling him a kickboxer only is a little unfair, but he's 1-1 in the UFC. He TKO'd Roland Dye in his last fight, which he looked really good, and he lost his debut, but that was Alexander Volkanovski. Even he was pretty thoroughly grounded by the wrestling of Volkanovski throughout, but we've seen how legit that is also. So I think Young potentially took a lot from that fight, and obviously, as I said, we saw how good Alexander is, and I think he's going to take a similar type of approach to Roland Dye here. I don't put Austin Arnett that much above what Roland Dye can really do, honestly. And I think we're going to have another kickboxing match here. And I think Young's going to look good in this one, and I'm going to have Young getting a pretty clear decision win over Austin Arnett. So
nice.
This is our second disagreement of the night here, and if it's close, I think it goes to Young also. But just in general, I think being the favorite, being at home, I think Young's going to feel pretty comfortable, and he has the better kickboxing. I'd be interested to see if Austin Arnett looks to mix it up a little more and make it an overall MMA fight. That definitely leans more towards Arnett having a chance. So we'll see what he does, but I'll take Young to get a clear decision. So Young is the minus 300 favorite.
Oh,
so
that's a... Oh, yeah. Man. I would go along that he's the favorite, but -3? Oh, yeah. Man. I don't know if I agree with that one. Maybe like a minus 190.
He looked really good against Dye, and it being at home, and yeah, it's a little bit heavy, but I'm not that crazy about it either.
Yeah, man, I don't know how I feel about -3, but that's fair play. Okay, so moving on into the next one, we have Devontae King Cage Smith, against Dong Hyun Ma, who used to be Kim. The Maestro. Okay, so I'll be breaking down Dong Hyun. Comes into this fight 2-3 inside the UFC. Losses to Dominic Still, which is not impressive, and also lost to Polo Reyes. His win resume isn't the best. Ground and pound finish over Takanori Gomi, and then he won a very tough split decision over Damian Brown, where I thought Damian Brown really could have got the nod in that fight, but then again, Dong Hyun really could have got the nod. So, fair play. I'm more focused on Devontae Smith here, because I picked against him in his UFC debut. I took Julian Rosa, because I thought experience is going to conquer here, but that's not what happened. Devontae Smith annihilated Julian Rosa. That was over within, 50 seconds?
58 seconds.
Wow. Just, the guy punches very hard. I knew that. But the guy is very accurate. And I'm kind of on his train. I'm jumping on the Devontae Smith train. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with Devontae here. After that debut, looks like a prospect. So, yeah, I'm on Smith here, Devontae Smith, and I'll take him again with a round 1 TKO.
Okay, I will be breaking down Mr. Devontae Kincaid Smith. He's 9-1, has 8 TKOs and 1 submission, and he is coming off a 58-second win over Juliana Rosa, and he did look very, very composed, yet pretty lethal and accurate with his strikes. I think that we could see his takedown defense tested a little bit here, and from what I've been able to gather, he does have that as well. And yeah, I pretty much agree with you. I think he's going to physically overwhelm Dong Young Kim or Dong Young Ma or whatever you want to call him at this point. And I see him getting starched inside around as well. So he's also, the thing about Smith I like is he's gone into the 4th round and gotten a TKO finish. So he's able to pace himself and appears to have a somewhat of a gas tank as well. So I'm going to agree. I do like the looks of him. Devontae is only 25 years old as well, so he could be a legit prospect coming up at the 155 division here. And he is the favorite, minus 240, so not as big as some of the others as these odds makers have been making, but that's, I think, about what it should be. Mm-hmm. Maybe a little bit heavier, if anything. But
sounds about
we agree.
Right. Yeah,
we agree. I think this one's going to be over pretty quick. But if Hyun Ma can get it to the ground, he may be able to put him away. I don't know. I haven't seen enough of Devontae Smith yet to make a judgment on that part. But.
Yeah, but then again, you look at Rosenstruck, and if a guy like that somehow survives, you think to yourself,
well, that's a heavyweight division, though. That's just trash.
That is true. But, the way I don't want to get into it again and start raging over Albini again, but...
Yeah, your 5 minutes is up.
Yeah, he ripped for that Kimura, 3 times, man.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, okay. So moving on.
It was looking right. But then, so moving on to the 205 division, we've got Jimmy Crute versus Smiling Sam Alvey, and this is the beginning of the main card. I will be breaking down Smiling Sam Alvey. He is 33-11-1. He's a Team Quest product. 10-6 coming off frankly a pretty disappointing TKO loss to Lil Nog, where he just came out completely flat and disappointing. I don't know how else to really describe it. And Lil Nog looked really good as well, but yeah, that was a fight I was expecting Alvey to win, honestly, and really continue to progress up into maybe some of the higher echelon, but instead now he's being put up against a young, hungry lion, and pretty tough fight here, I think. But Sam Alvey has wins over John Vellante, Rashad Evans, Nate Marquardt, Eric Spicely, and El Mutante when he was down at 185. And losses to Brunson, Elias Theodora, Talos Latis, and Lil Nog, as I said. And I really don't know what to think about Sam Alvey at this point. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. I'm doing my best not to overreact to a horrible performance, but I think it's interesting that I felt that it was a showcase fight for him against Lil Nog, with him being the showcase fighter. But in this one, I feel like he's being fed to Crute to be a showcase fight. Mm-hmm. This is in Crute's backyard, a lot of support, and Crute mostly is a stand-up fighter from what I've been able to see. So fighting someone like Sam Alvey, I think, is what he would want to do in this fight. So I think it could lead to Crute being overexcited and maybe overextending and not focusing, and Sam being a wily guy, he can put you out. And at first, I was really going with Crute all day. I thought he's going to kind of overwhelm him and be able to beat him up. But part of me kind of wonders if Sam's going to outfox him in some ways. And I'm going to go with Crute, but I don't think he's going to be able to put Sam away. And I see it kind of being a grind of a decision by the end for Crute. But I'll take Crute to get the decision win. Nice.
Okay, so Jim Crute comes into this fight 1-0 inside the UFC. Previously fighting on the Contender Series. He looked very impressive on the Contender Series, a nice finish. In his debut, he was fighting Paul Craig. Once again, just looked impressive everywhere. Paul Craig wanted that fight on the mat. He got that. He got what he wanted. And Jim Crute just showed us, look, I can fight here too. He reversed position on Paul Craig multiple times. I'm aware Paul Craig reversed position on Jim Crute a few times too. But, Jim Crute survived in Paul Craig's world. Didn't just survive. He looked far more impressive there on the floor than Paul Craig. And once again, Jim Crute, like you said, stand-up fighter. He wants to stand. He wants to bang on the feet. Sam Alvey, what can we really say? 2-1 at 205. I wouldn't say he's a 205er. That showcase fight against Lil Nog, that was, if Sam Alvey actually wanted to break through into 205, here's how you do it. A little bit like Anthony Smith against who was it? I was there. I should know. It was in Germany. Shogun Rua, of course. You know, that was like, you know, are you a 205er? And you know, there we go. That's proven. But Sam Alvey failed. You know, he's not a 205er. He's definitely not a 205er. So yeah, I pretty much just see Jim Crute somehow being fed a showcase fight. And you wouldn't expect a guy like Sam Alvey to be a showcase fight, but you know, this is pretty much proving Sam Alvey is not a 205er if he doesn't win. But saying that, Jim Crute has just looked so impressive. But yeah, we're gonna agree here. I'm gonna take Jim Crute, but I am gonna take a finish. I think the way Sam Alvey crumbled against Lil Nog, I definitely see him crumbling against a guy like Jim Crute. On the feet or on the ground, I think Sam Alvey's getting finished here. And I'm going to take Jim Crute to get a TKO finish in the second.
Okay, so it sounds like you feel a little better about Crute, but we do agree. So Crute, interestingly enough, opened at minus 245. The line has shifted to minus 135.
I love that. Because I am extremely confident in that pick, so that's going to be my number one, where the cash goes. So so yeah, I think it could be a pretty good fight between, I believe, two gingers. So you don't see that a whole lot in the octagon, but we got two gingers fighting each other. So that's why I do these podcasts, for for moments like that right there. Yeah, that's in-depth knowledge there. I know. So you're welcome. That was legit.
That's free. So we're on to the ladies' fight of the night, right?
Yes, Montana Della Rosa versus Nadia Kassem. Is it? Kassem?
Yes. Yep. Kassem.
Okay. So I'll be breaking down Della Rosa. Okay, so she comes into this fight 3-1 inside the UFC. All of her fights coming in the Ultimate Fighter. She has wins over Ariel Beck, Christina Marks, and most recently she beat Rachel Ostovich, which was, you know, pretty nice performance. All three of those wins come in via submission, so, you know, you pretty much know how she's going to get it done. She lost to Nico Montana, which is a fair loss. For that season of the Ultimate Fighter.
Is it?
I know. That's why I added for that season. Like, apparently Nico Montana was number one that season.
I wonder if she's ever going to fight again.
Yeah, for real. She's a mess. So
Chico,
Della Rosa.
Stop. Chico, hold on. Sorry.
He does what he wants, Chico.
He may be freaking. All right, go ahead. Okay. Sorry about that.
So, like I was saying, Della Rosa, she's fairly decent. She'll kickbox her way to her world, you know, if you like. You know, she's going to kickbox until she can get on the mat with you. Does she win if she doesn't take it to the mat? I don't know. Does she definitely take it to the mat? Once again, I don't know. But that is the question for me here. If Montana Della Rosa's picking up wins via submission, she's going to want to do that again here. But I'm going to side with Nadia. I'm going to say she doesn't get her to the mat and Nadia gets the hometown nod.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Anything else, or shall I begin on Nadia?
Take it away, bro.
Okay. So Nadia Kassem, nickname 187. So pretty cool nickname. She's 23 years old. So pretty young, constantly improving. She's on Australian top team, which is not my favorite camp in the world, I'll be honest. I haven't seen a lot of transition to the UFC with their camp so far. But she's 1-0. She beat Alex Astrogirl Chambers. But she didn't finish her.
Which is clearly not impressive.
Yeah. That's not impressive. But again, in your UFC debut to go 15 minutes is not the worst thing in the world. Mm-hmm. But I think she's really going to have to be worried about being taken to the ground in this one. So I could see her striking becoming really tense and hesitant. I think it was tense and hesitant against Alex Chambers. So I'd say Montana Della Rosa is far beyond Alex Chambers in terms of that. And I don't know too much about Kassem's wrestling, and I think that's going to be the real key in this fight. This is a striker versus grappler fight. And I assume that, but I also assume Nadia's been training pretty much grappling this entire camp, I would hope. And De La Rosa's been KO'd by Cynthia Calvaro, so she definitely can be caught. Cynthia is by no means a striking master, and but this is a classic striker versus grappler. I feel like when I brought that up lately, that I've been going with the striker more lately, even though I say I usually go with the grappler when I brought up the striker versus. But here I'm going with the grappler. I'm going to go with Montana in this one, and I'm going to go with Montana to get the submission. And I think she's going to make a statement. I'm one of the best in this division grappling, and she's going to get in the first round over Nadia, who is 5-0. So it's going to be her first loss, but I think Montana is going to show another level with the grappling here and win by submission the first.
Nice. Okay. Fair play. And what are the odds on that?
Good question. Let's see. They are with. Well, and here's how they opened: -114 each side. So it's a pick 'em. Okay. It is now -265 for Montana De La Rosa.
No way.
Yep, on every site.
-265.
-265. So
that's incredible.
The odds makers are going with me in this one.
That's incredible. So, I thought he was about to say like the odds are like now -135 for De La Rosa. That's incredible.
Yeah. The opening at a pick'em I'm fine with, honestly, and I'm fine with it shifting to Montana.
That's crazy.
That's a significant shift, but I agree with it. I would love to not agree with it and get that free little underdog pick if I really believe Nadia. But I think Nadia has not fought anybody near Montana, and she's 23. Pretty much can only finish the fight one way, and it's by cracking her. And I think Montana has good enough and probably improved striking as she's going, and her submissions are legit. She's got really good grappling. So we'll see.
That's crazy. Like -2. Okay, well that's enough there. Moving on.
-265.
Yeah,
so that's the biggest shift. That's the biggest shift of any fight, I believe, from the odds opening to where they were. So
yeah, that's madness. Okay, so moving on to Ronnie Yahya versus Ricky Simone. I'll be breaking down Ronnie Yahya. He comes into this fight 11 wins, 3 losses inside the UFC. So, very decent record. You could say he's underrated. 6 of those wins have come via submission. So, he is that type of guy too. As for stand-up goes, you don't really get an improvement every fight from Ronnie Yahya in the stand-up department. Guys like Charles Oliveira, who's a jiu-jitsu guy like Ronnie Yahya, you see improvements in Charles Oliveira's game standing. You don't really see that from Ronnie Yahya. What I will say is Ronnie Yahya definitely has, some of the nicer jiu-jitsu in the 135 division. And I really like this fight stylistically because Ricky Simone, I know he's one of your boys, and he's a strong wrestler. He's a strong, relentless wrestler. So, Ricky Simone, primarily a grappler, that could definitely play into Ronnie Yahya's hands. I have, funny enough, I never picked against Marlon Moraes until last main event. I've never picked Ricky Simone. I picked against him twice in his UFC career, and this is his 3rd fight. So, there could be some weirdness going on here with me and Ricky Simone now if I take him and now he loses. It could just be one of those guys that I don't predict right. But yeah, I'm going to take Ricky Simone here. I feel like his stand-up is decent enough. I feel like he can still wrestle and grapple here. I don't feel like if he does, he's going to be submitted, like straight off the bat. I think he's smart enough. He has been clipped before standing, but he shows great conditioning to always recover. And he's very relentless in the takedown. You know, if he needs that, I don't know if he's going to need that here, but you know, if he chooses to, there's no doubt Rani Yahya's going to the mat. And once again, in Rani Yahya's favour, he doesn't mind going to the mat. So this is a great fight. But I am going to take Ricky Simón for the first time in his UFC career. Yeah, and I'm going to take him via decision.
All right. I will be breaking down one of my favorite prospects currently, Ricky Simón. He's a Dana White Contender Series winner, although that didn't get him onto the show or into the octagon. He had to go to LFA and win 2 fights against Chico Camus and another pretty good fighter, in which he finished that fighter in under a minute. Since being in the UFC, he's 2-0 with wins over Mirab Divashvili, in which he finished him with that guillotine at the end of the third after potentially losing the first 2 rounds in his debut. And then fighting Montel Jackson, a really tall, lengthy striker, and really, really impressing me with being able to get through that fight and able to break down that base and get him taken down. And I just see Simón improving by the fight here. I look for his stand-up to be improved more in this fight and for him to use it more. I don't think he's going to go to the ground as much in this fight. I think he will be respecting the jiu-jitsu of Yahya, but at the same point, I think as the fight goes on, Simón's speed will be the difference, and I do think he's going to get some takedowns by the third round. And I think I wouldn't be surprised by a TKO, but I do have Simón winning a decision until he gets really up into these higher-level fighters, although Yahya is in that neighborhood, and definitely after that fight, he will be in that neighborhood. I think I'm going to be picking Simón against a lot of this division. I really like. It doesn't bother me that he's only 5'6". I actually like that. I think it allows him to get in and really focus on getting inside on his strikes, which leads to potential takedowns also, rather than hanging out on the outside. He's shown to be able to get through adversity in both of his fights, and I'll take Simón to get a decision. So. Nice. We go to the odds, and Simón is the slight favorite at -125. So,
see, that's crazy to me. I feel like he should have the odds that you just read for Montana De La Rosa.
Yeah,
and like De La Rosa should have the odds that you just read there. Like, that's crazy.
I mean, it's a -105, so it's almost a pick 'em.
Yeah,
according to the odds here, which I don't.
So I guess people who are putting their money down are kind of assuming Ricky Simón will still wrestle, and that will lead to his loss. If that makes sense. I
mean, they're maybe seeing it being similar to Damian Maia, where it's just a specialist specializing.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, Yahya is that good of a submission. If Yahya puts him on the first round on a rear naked choker, you're gonna be shocked.
Yeah, no.
It's nothing against Ricky Simón, but there's very few fighters who, if Yahya wins by first round rear naked choke, I'd be like, I'm shocked. Yeah. He's just like with Maia, no matter who that's against. So that's why when Maia did that this past weekend, I wasn't shocked. I mean, and there's plenty of reasons why it happened.
Yeah.
But we're moving on. We do agree. We're moving on to the co-main event, which I cannot imagine is going to be a controversial pick here, but we'll see. Between Anderson the Spider Silva and Israel the Last Style Bender Adesanya, I will be breaking down the 43-year-old Anderson the Spider Silva. He is 34-8-1 in his career with 22 KOs, TKOs, and 4 submissions. And what can you say about Anderson Silva at this point? Back when he was at his peak, there was no one better than him to me. In his, from like 2007 to 2012, 13, there's just nothing like him. From his perfect debut against what's his name? What's his name? Chris. I'm blanking on his name right now. The crippler, Chris Leben. Chris Leben, where he didn't miss a strike. And fun fact, Chris Leben was the favorite in that fight.
Crazy.
To a perfect title win over Rich Franklin, to his front kick over Vitor, to his chael fights. Then Chris Weidman happened in July 16th, 2013. Everything changed when he was dancing around and got KO'd by Chris Weidman. Then the next year tried to leg kick Chris Weidman and broke his leg. In fact, until his win over Derek Brunson in February of 2017, which, by the way, was his last fight, he had not won since 2012.
Wow.
Because he got his Nick Diaz win revoked due to failing a steroid test. This is the terrible, terrible matchup for Anderson Silva here. And the only way they got him to take this fight is by falsely promising him a title shot if he won, which they will immediately revoke if he does win, and he's not going to win. This is, I mean, Anderson, unless there's a younger, better version of Anderson coming out here, and we'll wait till after the drug test if he does win. That's the only way I see him winning, is if he's pissing hot, because this is a terrible matchup. And I just can't believe how far Anderson has fallen at this point, to where he's, before fights in the pre-fight conference, have you heard him like preaching for TRT again? It's sad. It's really, really sad. And being against Adesayna, it's just, this is not going to be pretty. I think Adesayna is going to have a name after this fight completely built off of Anderson Silva for the casual fans. Obviously, if you're watching, you already know who Adesayna is. And Anderson hasn't fought since February of 2017. So he's 2 years later, he's fighting against Adesayna. So I just don't get it. And I think he's getting lit up here. And Adesayna gets a finish within the first 2 rounds.
Nice. Okay, so Adesayna comes into this fight 4-0 inside the UFC. We've been doing this podcast for a few months now, and I believe this is Adesanyna's 3rd breakdown on the podcast. And I've been giving him every time, and I love that, because I'm massively behind Adesayna at 185. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. Not because, you know, he's just this guy who's doing this great stuff on the feet, a little bit like Anderson Silva did back in the day. You know, you go, once again, like, about the Fight Pass thing earlier for Lando Vannata, like advising listeners to go watch his career. Watch Israel Adesanyna's. And I'm sure nearly every listener would have seen all of Adesanyna's fights. But, you know, you start with Rob Wilkinson, you know, really dominant pretty much everywhere for 15 minutes. And then, you know, he fights Marvin Vettori, and, you know, 75% of hardcore MMA fans, you know, they're saying, well, you know, split win, but Marvin Vettori exposed his ground game. And that was true, kind of. But then you look at him against Brad Tavares, and he showcased beautiful movement and beautiful takedown defense. And, you know, not only do you find that out and realize that he's improving, we now see him for 25 minutes, and the conditioning, beautiful. In the 5th round, he looked great. And then you look at his last fight, where, you know, once again, he proves to have better and better takedown defense. His movement's getting better and better, and I even said it, I called it. Not only are we going to see that again, but we're going to see a statement. And he TKO'd Derek Brunson. So, you know, I know you're not hot on this fight, but stylistically and from learning with Israel Adesayna, I feel like we're going to learn even more. But I do agree with you. It's not, you know, it should be against a real competitor at 185 as of this day and age. But stylistically, I feel like this fight's going to go to the 3rd round, because I think Israel Adesayna is smart enough to let it go that far. And that doesn't make sense, right? Because, you know, if you're a competitor, you want to win as fast as you can. I just think Israel Adesanya is going to allow Anderson Silva to try and do what we know he does. And I think Israel Adesanya is going to show everyone, look what happens every time he tries this. You know, just like against Brad Tavares, you know, the shake of the head, like, you know, that was that close. You know, I think we're going to see moments of Israel Adesanya
Mm-hmm.
mirroring the persona of Anderson Silva, and
Mm-hmm.
I really think that's what's gonna make people buy into this guy. But
Mm-hmm.
as for the fight he should be fighting, I do agree with you. Competition wise, like you said, the last time he
This is
fought.
this is a business move by UFC.
Yeah, but I will take Israel Adesanya. I will agree with you. But I'm going to take a TKO finish in the 3rd round. I think he's gonna show us some stuff for a good 10 minutes. So
yeah, I think it's important for Adesanya not obviously to win, but I think also get a finish. I don't think a decision win does too much for him here.
No.
I think a decision win would be not a loss, but not the showcase that he needs to do here. So,
and what are the odds?
Yeah, the odds they opened at -370 for Adesanya. They're up to -650. He would be the favorite.
Jesus. Okay.
He would be the heaviest favorite on the card, and I can't argue against him. I can't argue against. This is a complete showcase, and if Adesanya loses, the UFC is gonna be quite upset, I would think.
And just a side note for anyone listening, hearing those odds, Adesanya has been knocked out, and it was quite brutal. And this was obviously before the UFC, and some years before the UFC, but he was knocked out. So anyone who still believes anyone who still believes that spider instinct of Anderson Silva, hearing those odds, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, I never thought this day would come where Anderson Silva would be a +475. And, I mean, back in his heyday, back in seeing what he did against Forrest Griffin, all these fights, I mean, it's hard to believe. If I could take a time machine to now, I would be like, oh, God. Yeah. I just could never imagine that. I mean, Anderson was the GOAT for a while, and it's just... This is sad, and if he wins this, a part of me would kind of chuckle at the UFC's expense, just because I'd be like, that's what you get for trying to falsely sell a narrative. But
if Anderson Silva wins, there's going to be strong promotion on his side after that fight, or like you say, there could be, that Dana White lie of the title promise, but it's Anderson Silva and he's a legend, so we could see that. Ronda Rousey
they definitely could make it work with a 44-year-old Anderson Silva by the time he was fighting for the title. But
strong agreement.
I don't know.
Strong agreement.
Yeah, this is not a fan of this one at all.
Yeah,
so
I'm with you.
I feel gross about it. And on to the main event of the evening. I'm going to let you lead it off, but I'm just feeling that confident that I wanted to get there. So I've gotten one straight main events right. So.
Okay.
Bring it on.
Okay, so Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum. Title defense at 185. Okay, so Gastelum comes into this fight 9-3 inside the UFC. Previously fighting on The Ultimate Fighter, where he won all 5 of his fights. Coming into the UFC, a lot of hype around him. His most notable wins came over Uriah Hall, Jake Ellenberger, Nate Marquardt, Johnny Hendricks, Vitor Belfort, Michael Bisping, most recently Jacare. There's a few of those guys are quite old, so it's impressive to take a few of those names, but his losses came to Tyron Woodley, Neil Magny, and Chris Weidman. You could say he was very close to beating Chris Weidman. Obviously the difference being Chris Weidman saved by the bell, and then implemented, actual grappling into the second round, and obviously Kelvin Gastelum beat there on the floor. It's safe to say, this is basically going to be a stand-up fight. But having said that, you look at Robert Whittaker when he's hurt, he grapples. He definitely grapples. So saying that it's going to be just a stand-up fight and Kelvin Gastelum's going to be on his feet at all moments, I don't agree with that. I would say Kelvin Gastelum wouldn't take it to the ground at any point, but Robert Whittaker may at some point, if he's hurt. But yeah, it's kind of hard to break it down, because Kelvin Gastelum, he is fast for a 185er, and he definitely could catch Robert Whittaker. And having said that, you know, some of the shots Robert Whittaker put on Romero, oh man, like he had Romero like froze for a couple seconds. You know how tough Romero is, but to say he even put him on like freeze, like Robert Whittaker could definitely catch Kelvin Gastelum. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Kelvin won first round. I wouldn't be surprised if Rob won first round. I would say the difference here is going to be what kind of guys do we see in the third, fourth, and fifth? A little bit like I said on my last main event. But I do believe Robert Whittaker has proven he definitely can go those championship rounds. And Kelvin Gastelum, you know, I know Jacare gassed completely in the third, but Kelvin Gastelum didn't look like fresh. He didn't look fresh at all. But yeah, I'm going to side with Rob. I'm going to take a title defense here, and I'm going to take it in the fourth round. I think Rob takes it to the fourth round and gets a finish over Kelvin Gastelum.
Very nice. Okay. I will be breaking down Mr. Bobby Knuckles himself, Robert Whittaker, 28 years old. So that's just really surprising to me. He's only 28, but he's 20-4 overall with 9 TKOs and 5 submissions. He's 11-2 and winner of 9 straight, including 8-0 since moving to middleweight. He's got wins over Yoel twice in classic fights, including a Yoel that missed weight the second time. I think that's an underrated part of the mention there, but to beat a Yoel who had the advantage of cutting weight ahead of time is all that much more impressive. He has a finish of Jacare, Derek Brunson, Uriah Hall, and others. And he's probably the best example of the benefit of not depleting your body and cutting as much weight as possible. I mean, he's become a champion in which when he was cutting weight, he was losing to guys like just nowhere near his level. So at 170, just not the same as at 185. His power and his gas have increased, I think. And he's just got a pretty solid and overall MMA game that's, I think, extremely undervalued. I think the 2 Yoel fights really showed me everything that they could. And I've been seeing a lot of people who've really been feeling it's popular to pick Kelvin Gastelum to blitz him within the first 3 rounds and be able to KO him. And I don't see that happening. I don't see Gastelum having more pop and speed than Yoel did. And I think that Bobby Knuckles is going to put on a point fighting clinic. I think he's not going to put himself in any sort of danger within the fight. I think he's going to do his best to, at times, use his grappling, not just when he's hurt, but even before he's hurt. And I think really tire out and wear out Gastelum. And I'm going to take Whittaker to get the decision win.
Nice.
I think he's going to really respect Gastelum the first 3 rounds, but I think as the fight goes, it's going to be more and more Whittaker's fight. I do like the 4th round TKO finish also, but I'm going to take him to get the decision win.
Nice. And what are the
odds? Whittaker is a -250 favorite. So it's what they opened at. And I agree with that.
-250, -2 sounds about right for Rob at this point. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Kelvin, did finish Rob in the first. But like I say, I wouldn't be surprised if Rob finished Kelvin in the first, because some of Rob's high kicks, oh man, he has an arson as well. He has a real arson on his feet. So it's going to be a great main event. We agree. I don't know if that's good. Maybe it's good now that you won a main event.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I've gotten, as I said, 1 whole main event in a row, right? And what did we have? 4 disagreements on this card?
3 or 4. 3 or 4.
So we got,
that's not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. I'll just keep inching closer and closer. But yeah, I think this is a good fight. I like the main event here, but I'm just not exactly sure that Gastelum is good enough to beat the champ here, which there's no shame in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I feel good taking Whittaker as well. So,
And what's your fight of the night here?
Yeah, my fight of the night. Let's see. I think I'll go with Potter and Turner.
Nice. Okay.
I think that they're just going to have a war, and it's going to be pretty pleasing. Also, it could be Adesayna and Silva. If Adesayna decides but just doesn't dominate, it could really turn into a pretty pleasing MMA fight, and a lot of people could just see it as the last little run of Anderson Silva. It was good to see him one more time be competitive, even if he doesn't. Blah blah blah. So I guess I'll say Adesayna Silva. What about you?
I'm actually going to go with Young and Austin Arnett. I think we're going to see a war there at 145. Yeah, I could, like I say, back and forth on that one. I could be terribly wrong. It could be over in the first. Any of these fights could be over in the first. That's how MMA goes. But yeah, I'm going to go Austin Arnett and Young there. But yeah, it's a sick card. I'm glad to break it down with you again. We're back again next, like within 5 or 6 days. The giveaway is obviously available once again. So smash your comments down. And yeah, peace.
Yeah, thank you everybody for the support, the listen, the comments. Peace out.
Peace.